The DS family of systems is the single best-selling handheld product line to this day, going practically unchallenged as the king of handhelds for 7 years. Counting down to the required EG cameo in 3, 2, 1. Hey, hey, hey! It's your favorite Elite Gamer! Hey there, EG, you're right on time. What kind of entitled opinion have you brought to us today?
I wanted to know what your favorite DS model is. You covered all 4 of them last time, so it's time for you to decide.
Oh, well, I'm not quite ready to reveal the rankings for the DS just yet. Don't you remember the Game Boy videos? First, we covered the chronological changes from model to model. Today, we're going to analyze each one at a much closer level. Then next time, we'll rank them.
But why wait? I'll bet you at least have already decided which is the best and worst one, haven't you? Come on, just tell us already. I'll bet you picked the...
Whoa, what's this? EG, there's a huge crossover event going on right now with Minecraft, Fortnite, and GTA 5.
What? Which one? Is there Minecraft and Fortnite, or maybe GTA 5 and Minecraft, or Fortnite and GTA 5?
Yes, all of that. All that is going on right now. That was close. I just can't with that guy sometimes. As promised, we are back with part 2 of the DS Hardware Retrospective. Whereas part 1 focused solely on the changes between all 4 of the DS models, today we're going to take an ultra close look with an eye for the small details that may not make it onto your spec sheets and back of the box feature lists. If you love the DS, you're going to love this hands-on examination starting with the original all the way to the XL. The original DS doesn't use much of the space on the top. All that's visible is the Nintendo logo and the hinge. The hinge is somewhat notable. It's very similar to the GBA SP's hinge and feels sturdy enough to withstand a multitude of openings and closings. Down along the front we find the volume control, a Game Boy Advance cartridge slot, and the headset jack. It's worth stating that the GBA carts just about disappear into the DS when they're inserted, and the headset jack is especially interesting because Nintendo went back to a standard headphone jack starting with the 3DS systems. Around on the left, absolutely nothing! Onto the back we've got the L&R shoulder buttons, charging port, game card slot, carry strap attachment, my favorite, and the stylus housing. The L&R buttons are fairly substantial in size and are angled a bit downward, maybe for ergonomics sake? This charging port is unchanged from the Game Boy Advance SP's port, and while the stylus is unfortunately here in the back, the worst possible place for the stylus, it is at least within reach of your right hand. Looking now on the right side, once again, nothing. Flipping to the bottom shows the location of the battery cover and 4 plastic feet. Opening up to the inside now, and we can see 2 rubber feet, the top screen, and stereo speakers. The rubber feet do a good job of protecting the screens from scratching when the unit is closed, despite their appearance, and the top screen has a resolution of 256 by 192 pixels. Moving down to the bottom portion, we see the touchscreen, power button, control pad, start and select buttons, A, B, X, Y face buttons, microphone, power LED, and recharge LED. The touchscreen's resolution is the same as the top screen's, and the power button doesn't have the best placement. It mirrors the position of start and select and could be confused with them during intense play sessions. The control pad feels uniquely better than most control pads out there, and it is a bit weird that start and select are above the face buttons. Speaking of which, A, B, X, and Y all have a great clicky feel, but could stand to be larger or at least spaced out better. The buttons are also colored in a very similar manner to the SNES controller, with X and Y being one color and A and B being another. Along the bottom of the bottom section here, you will see the mic on one side and the power and charging LEDs on the other side, and these LED colors match the GBA SP's LED colors. The original DS marks the end of the industrial toy feel for Nintendo's handhelds. It looks fragile with its uneven, bolt-like chunky appearance, but feels surprisingly solid in the hand. The screens are so poorly lit that they are probably the worst of its features. The first revision is the DS Lite, and a few of the changes include this new hinge design, the new placement of the LEDs on the top, where they are much easier to see when the unit is closed, and there's a simple raised DS logo here in the center. Hopping down front, we still have the volume control, GBA slot, and headset jack in their same locations. The GBA slot has a plastic piece that fits into it that makes the slot blend in really well with the rest of the DS Lite, but when a cartridge is inserted, it sticks out noticeably far. Skipping on to the left, and nothing. Jogging over to the back displays the L&R shoulder buttons, charging port, card slot, and carry strap thingamajiggy in the same locations from the last model. The shoulder buttons are smaller this time, and they are placed right on the lower corners instead of being placed away from them. And the charging port is extra special because it only accepts a charger which is unique to the DS Lite. Don't lose your charger for this one. A brief run to the right side shows where the power slider is now. You heard right, it's a slider now instead of a button. And the new place for the stylus. The power slider over here on the right is much more difficult to confuse with a power button placed very closely to buttons pressed while playing a game, and the stylus is in the best possible place for a stylus to be. Taking a walk down to the bottom gives us a view of the battery cover and feet that are rubber instead of plastic like in the last model. There are now only 2 feet instead of 4. Jetting over to the inside up top shows us some new rubber tabs, a much brighter screen, stereo speakers, and the mic just barely fits onto the hinge. This entire top section is now sunk in to protect it even better while closed, and the mic's new placement may be an improvement simply because it's harder for button clicks to be picked up by it. Tumbling down to the bottom section shows the touchscreen, which also benefits from increased screen brightness, a new control pad, A, B, X, Y face buttons, and start and select buttons. The control pad is smaller and has a more standard feel as opposed to the originals. The face buttons are less clicky, but I wouldn't exactly call them spongy either. And the start and select buttons placed right next to the touchscreen here is the best placement for them on any DS or 3DS model. The new aesthetic-focused design borrows much from the early 2000s Apple design philosophy, yet it is an only slightly less solid handheld. If the old DS was a tank, the Lite is an SUV in terms of durability. And the new screens are so much better.
Nintendo is no stranger to making a revision of a handheld with such vast improvements to the internals that some of the games end up being exclusive to the new model. One need only look at the Game Boy Color and new 3DS to see how they typically pull this off. Typically is the key word here, and there is nothing typical about the DSi.
The DSi brought with it a bevy of changes. The top shows how the LEDs have moved to the upper left corner, as well as one of the new marquee features, an outer-facing camera alongside an LED that lights up while the camera is on. There are 3 LEDs instead of 2, with a blue light for power, orange light for charging, and yellow light for wireless communication. Rolling down to the front shows only the headset jack. Leaning around left brings into view the volume controls, which noticeably have changed to buttons instead of a slider. Careening to the back shows a familiar sight: L&R shoulder buttons, charging port, card slot, and da-da-da-da! Carry strap attachment! The L&R buttons are much smaller this time around and have rather sharp edges, and the charging port is once again different, though this will be the last time it changes through all future DS and 3DS models. Fluttering over right, we see the DSi brandishing another significant change, the SD card slot, and of lesser note, we still have the stylus here. Shooting down below, we still have the battery cover and rubber feet. Taking a look inside now, we still have the rubber tabs, a 1/4 inch larger screen, stereo speakers, inner camera, and the mic. A quick jot to the bottom shows the also 1/4 inch larger touchscreen, control pad, power button, face buttons, and start and select buttons. The power button's return to the inside here is baffling, and now it's once again opposite the start and select buttons, but they're along the bottom now, which actually may be worse than being up on top. With larger screens, improved performance, a few exclusive games, the ability to download smaller games, and 2 cameras for picture taking are all included in the DSi at the expense of playing GBA games and some DS games which utilized accessories. One must ask, was the trade-off worth it? This model also doesn't hold up very well. I'll have some stories to share about that in the next video. Lastly, we're brought to the DSi XL. On the top we have the LEDs, outer camera, and accompanying LED. The front still has the headset jack. The left side still has the volume buttons. The back still has shoulder buttons, charging port, card slot, and yes, of course, the carry strap attachment. What, did you think they would forget that? They never forget the carry strap. The L and R buttons are larger and thus more comfortable, and the charging port for once didn't change this time. The right side still has the SD card slot and stylus. The bottom still has a battery cover, but now there are 4 rubber feet instead of 2. The inside top still has the rubber tabs, larger screen, stereo speakers, inner camera, and mic. The screen has increased from 3.25 inches to 4.2. I know that doesn't sound like much, but it really is when we're talking about screens that are only a few inches in size to begin with. The inside bottom still has the touchscreen, control pad, power button, A, B, X, and Y face buttons, and start and select buttons. The touchscreen has also been increased to 4.2 inches to match the upper screen and takes up so much room down here there's no room to space out the face buttons at all. Take the DSi and make everything about it bigger and tougher, and give it the most premium feel of any DS model ever. That's the DSi XL. I'm so thankful I got to talk to you about the DS models in detail without EG spoiling anything from the next video. Now that we've done the deep dive into all the models, it's time to rank them, and rank them we shall. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for when it goes up, because I have a feeling it's not going to be what anybody expects. I'll see you all then. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to keep on top of the videos, definitely take a sec to subscribe. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon if you want to follow me across the internet. Level 1 Sword also has a weekly podcast, so give it a listen.